Thanks for calling.
My pleasure.
I was listening to the album last night. It's very interesting.
Look at that. Thank you very much.
Where did this all come from? Now, you're from quite diverse areas of the musical spectrum, and we've come out with a project like this. How did it form? And how long have you known these guys, and where did the ideas come from?
Well, I was born in the 70s, so I grew up with both the rock from the 70s and the new wave from the 80s. So that's where the inspiration came from, right? And the band itself, it kind of started with some songs I'd written that didn't really fit into any of my other bands. I play in Borknagar, which is more like progressive black metal-ish music, and I play in a different band called Solefald, which is like more avant-garde, crazy stuff. And these songs didn't really fit in any of those categories. So I sat down and I tried to find out, okay, what's the common denominator here? And I found out, well, it's the 70s, base to all of it. And the sort of new wave 80s-ish way of constructing the vocals, the vocal lines. So I wrote some more music in that vein, and I found out I need to do something proper with this. So I started searching for the guys that would fit into my idea of what this was supposed to sound like, as a band. I didn't want to form this as a metal band per se. I wanted it to have more of a rock approach. So that's how the other guys came into this. They came from like different genres than the musicians that I usually work with. And before you knew it, we'd recorded an album and we'd signed the record deal, and well, here we are.
The part of the world that you're from seems to be the part of the world that isn't afraid to really go sideways, if you know what I mean, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, but we even did that within the genre, within the sideways genre to begin with. When I started releasing albums back in the mid 90s, we were connected to the black metal movement with Solefald. And what we did was we recorded a quote unquote black metal album with hand claps and tambourines and, mouth harps and stuff like that. So from the get-go, we were kind of crossing the cross stream, so to speak. So to me, doing something like this, something a bit, I guess, unexpected, if you know what I've done before, it's business as usual in a way. I've done this before in that respect.
No, it's all good. I love it. Tell us about some of the songs on here. As I mentioned, I was listening to it last night, and I didn't have this in front of me. It was on the table. And many times I found myself glancing over towards the phone, checking song titles for starters. The Fucking Violence of Love. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, well, it's kind of hard to tell something about a single song because they're all connected.
Tell us about the connection between them on the album then.
The basic concept of the album, it's based on absurdism, which is a philosophical direction worked out by Albert Camus. And I've been preoccupied with philosophy for many years. And the last 4 or 5 years, I've read a lot about existentialism, absurdism, and nihilism, which are all connected in their starting point. They all start with the same problem, which is the problem of the absurd. It's the discrepancy between what we need when it comes to sense and direction in life as human beings, and what the cold, brutal universe serves us when it comes to sense and direction, which is nothing. The universe goes, there you go, you exist, and you go, okay, fine. What am I supposed to do? The universe goes, I don't know. Okay, can you point me in some direction? Nah. So all of these philosophies, they try to bridge that gap in a way between what we need and what the universe serves us. So all the lyrics for this album were written as a sort of stream of consciousness realization of what that means. with a lot of other things thrown in, because I tried to write this as a stream of consciousness way. You know, the way that the brain works with these matters. The brain doesn't work in a straight line. You know, it works haphazardly. So you'll think about one thing, and then you'll pull something into that thought because it reminds you of something, and that gets entangled into the whole thing. And so, I mean, it's all haphazard, you know. And the fucking violence of love is, it's the point in the realization where you kind of realize that you can't escape the fact that your own existence is absurd, but you can sort of counter it by accepting it. And there's a very fine parallel to that when it comes to your very mundane love life. If you like someone, if you have a special relationship with someone, and that person breaks up with you, you're sort of put into the same kind of situation. You know, you can't do anything about that. But what you can do is you can accept it, and you know that's the easy mundane thing to talk about these matters in. You know, okay, what you do when there's something in your life that you can't really do anything about. Well, you accept it, you rise above it, and you move on. And that's the parallel, because on a great cosmic scale, you know, on an existential scale, it's the same thing you have to do with the fact that everything's absurd and you don't matter and I don't matter. Okay, how do we handle that? Well, we accept it and we rise above it, and that gives us the freedom to enjoy all the other things.
How was this album recorded, and what part did isolation, lockdown play in it?
Well, it was recorded in kind of in bits and pieces. That's the good thing about, you know, the quality of recording equipment that you can actually buy as a sort of normal person these days. I mean, you can get good production in your home studio. So it was recorded in various home studios, and most of it was recorded before the pandemic hit.
Right.
However, what happened when the pandemic hit was I was supposed to go on a pretty long tour with the Borknagar last year to the US and Canada. First date was supposed to be the 19th of March. So everything goes down around the 12th.
That's the universe going, fuck you.
That's the universe going, there you go. You don't matter. Everything's absurd, right? No, that meant I had like 5 weeks on my hands with nothing planned. And our guitarist in Borknagar, who's also incidentally the producer of White Void, he owns the studio that we mix and master everything in. I just sat down with him and I said, okay, well, this is a bummer, you know, the whole tour gone to shit. We need something positive in our lives. Why don't we sit down and start mixing the White Void album? So pandemic actually sped up the process with White Void. Even though we didn't record the album during the pandemic, we finished it during the pandemic. And everything else also happened, you know, as the pandemic was going on. So this has been a constant positive thing in my life throughout the pandemic.
In all the interviews I've heard a lot of stories like that where it's really, you know, stopped one thing but enabled people to have all the time to do this other thing. Generally, you know, for want of a better word, side projects, but now they've got the time and they knuckle down and do it. So.
And it's like you have like you have two choices in a way. I mean, you can sit down and mope and just drink beer and you know, drown your misery like that, or you can just try and focus on something else. You know, get something you know, positive, creative projects going, and have a beer afterwards.
Wait till it's all done and then do it. Exactly right. So this album's coming out very soon, within the next couple of days, I believe. And then what? What happens then? What's happening for you in the part of the world where you are? What can you do?
We're having a full lockdown as it is now. again. No shops were open, stayed home, all of that. But they've started the vaccination though, so things are moving forward. And they say that probably within June, things are going to get a bit better and they're going to open up. Live playing, I don't think there will be a whole lot of concerts until well into the autumn. For White Void's part, I think we just signed with a pretty big booking agency, and they're saying that we should probably just start looking at 2022. So hopefully maybe a festival or two late in the year, but when touring, as touring goes, yeah, probably next year. It's also one of the problems is that even if everything opened up tomorrow, it would be really hard to get any slots because everything that was supposed to happen last year is now supposed to happen this year, and soon half of this year is gone as well. So everything's just being pushed. So all the festivals are full, all the tours are full, everything is pre-booked, you know. So yeah, we'll see. I haven't. I'm hatching an evil plan as we to find a good way of getting on the road sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Just on a side note, did you know Mr. Petrov from Entombed?
No, not personally.
No. Okay.
I met him like 2 or 3 times, just like briefly on festivals through friends. I mean, just lovely guy. Just exchanged a few words, but I didn't really know him. No. However, I had a very close relation to Entombed's early albums. I mean, Clandestine is one of my top 3 death metal albums of all time. So yeah, it's really sad to hear about his death. Cancer is a fucking cunt.
What else did you want to chat about, Lars?
Well, if we can't play live, let's just make another album then.
That's a good idea. When do you start?
Well, I have most of the songs written already for the next one. For the next
White Void or Borknagar?
Yeah, for the next White Void. I also have lots of songs for the next Borknagar. So we're probably starting, the initial recording after the summer, I guess, with Borknagar. But I'm thinking, why wait when it comes to White Void? If I've got the songs and we've got this thing rolling, if we can't go out on the road, let's just make another one and see where that takes us.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
Just a little bit off track here. What's the funniest thing that's happened on tour with any band that you've been associated with? What's the funniest memory that just pops into your mind?
The funniest? I think it must have been with Borknagar in Lithuania back in like 2001. And we, after a gig, we did a vodka sauna. I don't know if you've done a vodka sauna, but they warm up these rocks inside the sauna. It's an old-fashioned sauna, right?
Yeah.
So they have fire and they warm up these rocks, and it's really fucking hot. And they don't pour water on the stones; they pour vodka on the stones. So you're breathing the alcohol. And our guitarist at the time, he just fell over after 5 minutes. He just got drunk out of his head from just sitting there and breathing. So we had to carry him out of the sauna and throw him into a pool of very cold water, to his very huge shock as he woke up when he hit the water. So yeah, that was kind of funny.
Wow. I'm just trying to visualize that.
Yeah, vodka sauna, not for the faint of heart.
Thanks for joining us, man. All the very best with the very, very interesting, and it's a bit out of my realm, and it really attacked my head. It was good.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And thank you for having me on your show.
Hey, no worries. Good luck with everything over there. It sounds like you're locked down a lot worse than we are. So good luck with it all. Hope you come out the other side all good and get back into it as soon as you can.
Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks, mate. You have a great day.
Thanks.